Sometimes when I'm canning jam or jelly, I get syrup instead. Sometimes that's nice because I want a little bit of fruit syrup, but at the same time, sometimes I actually wanted my jam or jelly. So generally speaking, there's 5 reasons, I call them the 5 T's, that jam or jelly doesn't set. The first one is temperature. It's gone a little bit too high and that'll disable the pectin. The second one is time. It's either boiled too long, not boiled long enough, been in the boiling water bath for too long, or just hasn't set for long enough. It can take up to 24 hours for your jam or jelly to set properly, and so sometimes you just have to wait a little bit longer. The next reason is too much. It's really not a good idea to double or triple your jam recipes because sometimes they won't set as well. And then the other issue can be the ratio of fruit to sugar to pectin. That can be your problem. Next is type. You might actually be wanting to use the classic pectin, but use a liquid pectin or a freezer jam instant pectin instead, and those really aren't interchangeable. Then the other reason is trash. The pectin just isn't good. It's really important to store your pectin in a cool, dry, dark location so that it lasts for as long as possible. I have 2 different jams that didn't set that I'm fixing today. One of them was a jalapeno jam that I more than tripled the recipe of. Bad idea, I know. And so it is half set. In order to fix that, I need to add half of a tablespoon of pectin for each cup of jam that I'm putting in. So it will be 1 tablespoon per pint-sized jar, so 3 tablespoons of pectin. And then I'll place that on the stove and bring it to a boil. The other one is a vanilla blackberry jam that, as you can see, is quite liquid. This one was in the boiling water bath for too long because I was videoing that day and got distracted. So it will need 1 tablespoon of pectin for each cup of jam. So that'll be 2 tablespoons per jar, or 6 tablespoons total. So I'll add my 6 tablespoons, place it on the stove, and bring it to a boil. Now I'll wash out my jars and get them hot and prepared to refill them. When it comes to the lids, that's kind of up to you. The manufacturer's instructions say not to reuse them, but if I look over them and they look in good shape, they don't have any rust, they don't have any really deep grooves in them, then I go ahead and reuse them, and it's worked well for me. I try to stir the jam regularly just to make sure that it doesn't burn because it does have that sugar in it already, unlike when I made it the first time. Now that it's at a nice rolling boil, I'll set a 1-minute timer. I ended up having them both go at the same time. I try to stir them continuously as the timer is going because I don't want them to scorch at this point. Now I'll take them off the stove and they're ready to jar up. Both at the same time. That was fortuitous. I'll then fill up my jars to 1/4 of an inch of headspace. You'll want to do whatever your recipe calls for, but this is mine. Generally speaking, there's a little bit of liquid lost when you're boiling it, and I tend to notice it's about half of a jar worth. I always make sure that I scrape everything out because there can be a lot that you don't get otherwise. And I can already see that this is starting to set as it cools, and so that's a good indication that it's gonna be okay. And then I'll fill my jars with my jalapeno jelly, and these ones go to 1/4 of an inch of a headspace as well. And for both of these, you can see that there was a little bit of loss. I don't get a full 1/3 jar, but that's fine. I'll put this in the refrigerator and use it right away. It's kind of nice too, because then with these ones, you can taste test them and figure out just how well your set did. And then I'll process these the same as what the recipe called for. For me, the pint-sized jars are 15 minutes at sea level. I'm at 1,200 feet, so I'll do 20 minutes. And you want to make sure that the boiling water bath is already preheated. Mine is at about 175, and that just makes it so that they're not sitting in the water so long waiting for it to get up to that boil. I won't set my timer for that until it comes to a rapid boil. Now that my timer has gone off, I'll remove the lid, turn off the heat, and let it cool for 5 minutes. I'll take these out of the canner and place them on a heat-resistant surface about 1 to 2 inches apart. I'll leave them there for about 24 hours until they get a nice seal. I can tell that they're sealed when the button has depressed in the center. If not, then I use them right away. If they are sealed, then I'll remove the ring and wash them with hot soapy water and store them in a cool, dry, dark location and use them in the next 1 to 3 years. Now I place these in the refrigerator to try and speed up the process. They're still not completely set, but you can tell that they're definitely headed that direction. And that's all you need to do to rescue your jam or jelly that didn't set.